pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's only one thing not on the agenda, and that is I would like to take a moment of silence for the passing of Ted Merzak. He was our most recent president of the board, and just a couple weeks ago he passed. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Ted and his wife Judy were great supporters of the library, and Ted did a lot of work here as our president. And we send our condolences to his family. I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Okay. All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the minutes from January 13th. That everybody's had a chance to look at.
Make the motion.
All right, second. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. We have a couple guests, and I would like to let them go first because then they don't have to stay for the rest of the conversation if they don't need to. But Lieutenant or Supervisor Jim Niles and Councilman Dane Morton are here. Do you know Josh Jacquard, a board member? I introduced to everybody else. So
How's it going?
here are trustees, and they have a proposal for us or a conversation for us.
So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but a couple of years ago, the town hired somebody to create a master plan, kind of a grand vision of the town. And their job was to pinpoint certain aspects where Luzerne is lacking and how to kind of paint a path forward on how we can improve those areas. One of the main things is that our downtown is kind of suffering. It's lack of businesses and things like that. So taking advantage of the natural resources that the town has to offer, and then using them to draw people downtown was one of the things that they had suggested. Another thing is to set up activities that would bring in a younger demographic to the town. So for example, Jim headed the playground committee and got the playground up at the pavilion built. That was one of the first things on the master plan. So what we're hoping to do is kind of continue the momentum of that playground, and downtown here create a Riverside Trail, which would go from Bridge Street all the way down and intersect with the trail that already exists by the Adirondack Folk School. The thought process behind that is that obviously Rockwell Falls is a huge draw for people. Now when people come, they have to kind of look for parking. There's no real obvious parking spaces. A lot of them just end up parking on the bridge. They get maybe a quick glimpse, but it's not really something that'll hold people downtown. As you guys know, there's the parking lot by the bank, which is actually a portion of that is a town parking lot. So the idea would be to take advantage of that existing infrastructure there, the existing trail infrastructure, and have the trail run right along here and behind the folk school. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the folk school is in the process of purchasing that property from the town with hopes to expand. So that's kind of, I like to use the analogy of a mall. A mall has anchor tenants. The folk school would be an anchor tenant for downtown. this trail will draw people and bring people not only to the library, but also to the folk school, and then hopefully attract additional businesses to the town. Currently, the town owns every piece of property along the riverfront, my understanding, with the exception of the library property. And here, there's a little bit of confusion as to exactly how much, but I think there's a general agreement that there's at least a foot or so, at bare minimum, of property that goes all the way back to the river from the library. So before we got too far into this, obviously, if we were going to have a trail go along the river, we would need to figure out something with you guys here at the library. If we were able to come to an agreement, that would be part of our grant proposal. And then once we get, all kind of those ducks in a row, we would submit our grant proposals. Right now, there's a lot of free money going around for projects like this. Jim has a meeting with some some county folks next week to look at different proposals regarding economic development and things like that. So we're just trying to, line some things up, and we wanted to bring it to your attention and see. Our ideal situation would be that the library provides an easement to the town so that we could build a trail alongside. Yeah, that's basically, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
If you haven't had a chance to read it, the master plan that we redid, Dave's referring to was adopted by us a year and a half ago, so summer of 2024. The updating of a plan like that is crucial, especially when you're in the grant seeking business. If your master plan is relatively current, the grant proposal evaluators look much more favorable. So you still look at that if you get a chance, and if you don't have time to read 50 or 60 pages, there's 2 or 3 pages that condenses the priority projects that the committee and the contractor recommended. We aren't necessarily doing them in order because we have to seize potential funding opportunities as they come up. The playground wasn't the highest priority. I think it was number 2 or number 3, but 6 months after we finished the master plan, the grant came out from New York DEC, and 2 months later, we had $125,000 towards that playground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the first priority was. It was probably senior housing or something like that. But timing to do a trail like this, I think it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The master plan wants to protect the character of the committee, of the community. I think the whole board would agree that we don't want a 5,000 housing unit development come into town. We're not looking for a Walmart. We want to keep the character the same, but we need a little bit of growth to keep the community vibrant and alive. I think this kind of thing is a perfect idea. And we're not in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do it right. But that little slice of property would be critical.
So where would the trail go crossing this property? Where does it end? At the,
Very close to the
right to the bridge?
Yeah, the idea is to
right.
go right to the bridge. So
Okay.
if you're about to cross over Bridge Street and you take a look off to the right,
Mm-hmm.
there's several cliffs and things like that.
Right.
There's about, don't quote me on it, but 8 to 10 feet of a strip of town property that
Okay.
goes up there. The most challenging, some people would call it challenging, I look at it as an opportunity. Part of the trail is right there because it would require some bracing and some platforms to go over there. But from my perspective and somebody visiting the town, I would imagine that's going to be an added thrill to be able to walk over that little area, which is kind of bridge water. Yeah, yeah. And kind of from there, it would link into, there's some viewing areas already there.
Right.
And just kind of follow that established trail.
And would it be open so that people are going out onto the, onto the rocks out back here, or?
No,
Okay, that's because there's always a concern,
Yeah.
people jumping off the bridge, people jumping into the water, it gets deep fast under the bridge.
Potential funding sources are environmentally oriented.
Mm-hmm.
so it would be well thought through. I'll tell you what I envisioned, and maybe some of you ladies and men have seen it. I don't know if you've ever been to Algonquin, Maine. There's a thing called the Marginal Way, and it's right along the rocky shore of the ocean. And it's absolutely beautiful. They've done a wonderful job balancing a trail that gets, I would say, hundreds of people a day. It's safe. There's spots where they had to pour a little bit of concrete. There's spots where they had to put some railings. But most of it's right there on the shore of the ocean. That's absolutely beautiful. Now that trail is probably a mile and a half. You're nodding your head, so you've been on it.
I have been on it, yes.
I don't know, a mile long, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously wouldn't be that long, but that kind of good, strong balance between environmental consideration and being able to walk it nicely.
Right.
There's one like it in Newport, Rhode Island also, that goes along
Yeah.
it, goes quite a ways. That's fun.
If it matters to you guys, my bachelor's degree is environmental science. Never used it as a way to make a living, but it's still kind of buried in the back of the brain cells here. I always consider that just about everything I do.
So you said an easement. I'm just out of my depth. I don't really know what our responsibility would then be, you know, what your responsibility. I can see the partnership in terms of building, if people are walking, maybe they come up and they're a patron to the library. I can see all of that. Benches and picnic tables and.
People sitting on the book.
Yes, I can see that. So what would we need to do?
So it's my understanding we would have our town attorney, that would draw up, basically, we're actually doing a similar thing right now with the folk school. So the folk school, the property down by the tennis courts is actually owned by the Open Space Institute. So in order for the folk school to expand, they have to give an easement so the folk school can build a septic, on that property. So it would be the same thing. So we would have our attorney draw up an easement. We could bring it to you guys if you, I don't know if you have an attorney or.
We do.
You guys could have your attorney look it over. And then basically it would be our responsibility to care for the trail.
Maintain the property.
Maintain the trail, yeah.
Cover insurance on the property and all of
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, the easements would try to address all of those, I call them the what ifs.
Yeah,
You just talked about, our attorney works for a law firm that does a lot of, represents a lot of the towns in Warren County. So they have pretty good experience putting together this
Yeah.
kind of stuff, you know, inter-municipal agreements and stuff like that. Like Lake Reserve probably has 10 contracts with Warren County to do various things. They're pretty good at it.
and is one possibility you buy property, or do you rent property, or is no money exchange and it's just the partnership with the? Oh, I'm just asking.
I know what it could possibly be any one of those.
I think on our end, our responsibility is to figure out how to eliminate liability. And so obviously this is a really good situation for the town, for the library even. But we just need to figure out a way to get to no liability on our end. So we have to talk to the attorney, and we have to talk to insurance company and try to get to that place.
We're a long ways from that at this point, but it definitely must be a win-win.
Okay.
Certainly the town and me as a human being doesn't want to put the library in any jeopardy.
Yeah.
We've actually been working at making the library more of a community center as well, which seems to be what a lot of libraries are doing as they move forward. We don't have a community center anymore. It's now your town offices. That was the closest thing we had to a community center.
As you know, I do a lot of environmental stuff for the Lake Association. And one of the things that I started pushing 4 or 5 years ago was some of the little programs that the Lake Association does here now.
Yes, yeah, they've been wonderful to work
Yes.
with.
We've done 4 presentations at the State Lake Conference now. I've been part of them with the Lake Association. And 3 or 4 years ago, the message we started seeing, you know, was probably 30 different presentations. It's a 2-day conference. There's 2 or 3 presentations going on at the time. The main message we got 3 or 4 years ago was education, education, education. You
Mhm.
want to take care of your lake, you have to teach people how to do it.
Right,
And that type of symbiotic relationship
Mhm.
is kind of what I envision.
Yeah.
We have to take our time. We got to think through it. Got to come up with as many of the, again, what ifs as we can think of.
Mhm.
So that nobody gets burned and everybody benefits.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have seen the demographic statistics in town for the last 10 or 15 years. It's not good.
As I saw this stuff on
It's
the
only about
website.
half of it.
Oh, I know that. I was in the school for 8 years.
Yeah.
They just continually went down.
And housing is part of the problem. It's
Mhm.
kind of a chicken and the egg thing.
Mhm.
They don't have young couples here because they
Mhm.
can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford to buy a house because there's no work here.
Right.
They
Mhm.
have to break that cycle.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of success stories that are starting to come out. They're primarily funded by federal and state grant programs.
Mhm.
Like Dane said, I have a meeting, I think it's Thursday next week, and the Warren County planner, the grant writer for the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Commission will be there. Our town engineer is going to be there. What we're going to be talking about is grants for infrastructure.
Mhm.
It's a known fact that development, growth, and success of a community follows development of infrastructure.
Mhm.
It's not rocket science. If you got a good septic, if you got a good sewer system, and you got good water, people will build there,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they need something to do that trail.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love the idea of the
I do
trail.
too.
How long do you think it would take to build something like this?
Actual construction, probably.
Yeah, one,
Months, a couple months.
couple months, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
And once we got to that point, this is one of the first steps is come to you guys.
Right,
But we would hire, one of the local trail building companies to do a study, that would also be included in the grant proposals. We did that for a mountain bike trail, up on town-owned property up behind the lake. And we would do something similar here,
Mhm.
just to give it a feasibility study essentially.
But
But
I have to have that ready to go to have a good, full, solid grant application.
Mhm.
I kind of liken it to borrowing money at the bank. You have to prove to them that you don't need it,
Mhm.
and then you'll get the loan. They worked at getting a preliminary price, kind of a preliminary design on that property over on the other side of the lake, and we're using that. We used it in a grant application last summer. Didn't get it.
Mhm.
Nobody bets 1,000 of those things.
So with the river walk down here, will there be access for them to come up the hill to the library if they wanted to, or?
I would think that,
yeah,
answer to that come from you.
Mhm.
ideally, I think we would like to integrate
Yeah,
the trail with whatever buildings it's going along. So any future businesses that may pop up, but for certain the library. Like in my head, I have, the idea of a trail going down, and we've all been on trails in different areas where they have little plaques essentially that will describe what kind of fish are in the river and things like that.
Mhm.
Something on this side of the trail, saying, hey, the library's right here, and this is what the library has to offer,
Yeah.
come check it out, that sort of thing. Is kind of what I envision,
Yeah.
because I would really like that trail to just really tie in downtown,
Mhm.
and have a place, I personally, I live here. I don't like walking across the bridge with the traffic and everything, but I love looking at the waterfall. And if there was something
Mhm.
that was more accessible, I would make that walk, So,
this idea is not new.
Mhm.
I don't know, I was reading about it, I don't know, you know this, this was kind of mulled around a little bit. Probably 20 years ago.
this idea of the trail,
Yeah,
Mhm.
you remember that?
I don't.
It was before my time, I was in Orangeburg, so I've only been here in Missouri for 13, 14 years.
Uh-huh.
I know it.
I worked with the Potash Trail, though. I was the secretary for the land ownership up there, and one of the things that they did to coordinate with, the school system even, was they had their science classes go up and do research of the flora and fauna, and they created some of those plaques, and so that they could be connected to the educational system as well, that kind of idea.
I think kind of what we're hoping to lock down here tonight with is kind of a feel. So,
Yeah.
Our receptiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
to see, you know,
Uh-huh.
obviously, if we move forward, we start working on all of these details.
Yeah.
And to answer your question about easement, sale, rental, that sort of thing, I think the path of least resistance would be an easement. Where no money is exchanged or anything like that, and it's just a mutually beneficial,
Uh-huh.
project. But that's something, you know, if you guys say, you know, yeah, we're kind of into it, then we can get our attorney involved to get you more specifics on, you know, liability and things of that.
Put our, grant writer on alert.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which we do have somebody that we pay, $3,000 a year.
A year, yeah.
Pay $3,000 a year just to keep looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And if we see something we like, then he writes the grant. I think it's $90 an hour,
Mhm.
$95 an hour, we pay him to actually write an application.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he does a monthly report and feeds us a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
Did he did the grant, or he did the trail
He did,
over there, yeah.
Yeah. And
Pretty well
And
run.
also getting back to your question about timing and
Mhm.
things like that. When I was walking the other property, the mountain bike property, which was projected to take about 3 months construction, I discussed the idea of a trail down here with that company, and they said that one is a home run. That one is something that will really get a lot of support, and it's also an easier project to do.
By that one, you mean the trail?
The trail
Yeah,
along the
okay,
river
yeah.
here, yeah. So I mean, I know that doesn't give you specific, but it gives you an idea.
Gives an idea, yes, you're not talking 4 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
And you want very little disturbance.
Mhm.
As far as feeling, we're missing a board member tonight, but I mean, I'm all systems go as long as we can eliminate liability, as long as we can get to that place on our end and make sure we're comfortable with that. I
I think we're all
Great thing.
open
Yeah, I
to,
think, totally.
yeah.
I think it'd be great for the area. I think it'd be good for us.
That was our catch.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
This would be great, which is probably way too ambitious and this is probably not the place, but some sort of refreshment area. Is that possible? I feel like if people are coming to the town and we want them to sort of, we've lost all the restaurants.
They're all further up. And I kind of think is project number 3 or 4 on my wish list is senior housing. And that could be behind the town hall. And I think that could be a place where you'd have room enough to do something like that. And that's pie in the sky at this point.
But hoping that the trail will attract businesses that will bring those refreshments.
Mhm.
You know, it's a public project that hopefully will attract private investment downtown. You know, I look at like the old antique store there, the end of the trail, or the vacant place that's now right next to the insurance place,
Mhm.
you know, a little soda shop, ice cream shop, something like that downtown, where people can walk the trail, get a drink, look over at the waterfall. You know,
Yeah.
Were you saying an area for refreshments or actual refreshments being sold?
Both,
Both.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are benches behind the, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
My daughter and I sit on those.
Yeah. Or by the tennis courts.
Yeah,
Master plan envisioned. I guess they call it a store downtown. And the store would kind of fit the theme of this trail, the other trail. It would be kind of a gathering coffee type shop, but it might actually do a little bit of retail, maybe hiking booths or cross country skis in the winter or some kind of outdoorsy
Yeah,
store. I like the idea of making it happen as another
Right.
story.
right.
We're trying to get Thomas.
You gotta start somewhere, though.
Property.
The,
Good luck
the
with that.
gas station?
Mhm.
So good luck with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So the master plan that you keep talking about, is that like on the Luzerne website? Or
town website.
Are you planning for additional parking? Or we think we can just try to use what we have? I mean, like the library has no parking. But I know the folk school has some, I know that the town has some at the bank. Is that part of the plan for
Yeah.
additional parking?
we have to engineer that.
Gotcha.
We'd have to figure out how many people do we think need to park and go from there.
Yeah,
So it'll be on the thinking list for sure.
Gotcha.
Those are good problems to have, though,
Mhm.
parking
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's true. Oh,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. I think you've answered all of our questions.
All of us, in case you want to talk about something.
Do we know how to get ahold?
They're on the town, board.
Your
You can
email.
emails are gonna be up on the site, I think by next week.
Okay.
And all of our emails are on our website.
Yes, yeah.
My, cell phone, is your cell phone on there? I believe my cell phone's on that.
Your cell phone was on there. Okay, I just tried to call transportation to see if I needed to reschedule this meeting for the snow. But,
Sorry, well, something pops up and we're talking one-on-one to get all of us.
okay, all right.
Keep it regular. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Time,
you.
yes, thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hmm. Um, we aren't really working on the budget tonight without Colin here particularly, and, VP of Finance. I feel like, he's kind of essential, but we have done some research on some of the issues that we talked about the last time. And I went to different, boards of libraries around to look at specifically, Josh, you were mentioning like the percentage of payroll. And, I'm gonna let Beth explain the percentage of payroll, and then I can follow that up with what I found from the other trustees, but.
Okay, so I wasn't at the last meeting, I was sick. But I listened to the whole discussion, and it got me really thinking about staff, and we need to cut down staff and percentage wise, and what's the right, what's the right balance for payroll versus everything else. So I went on the internet and just started poking around, and I wound up actually just getting a good summary from, I'll admit it was from ChatGPT this afternoon. And I think that it kind of helped put things in perspective for me. So when I got here, it was suggested that I print it off, so everyone could see. But basically, I wanted to see, like, where are we in the, general, recommended, how small public libraries spend their money.
Mhm.
And so ChatGPT broke it down this way. And then I looked at our projected budget and put down what our numbers were. And so for payroll, so the categories in bold is kind of what the rule of thumb is for payroll and benefits to be 60 to 75%, which is, and then collections, program and marketing. So I went through our budget and just tried to break down the numbers to align with how that was broken down. So I think that our budget, looks pretty good as far as how everything is allocated. If anything, it looks like a couple of points could be taken off, admin and the facilities really, and put into programming, which is a little bit low, collections and programming.
The numbers, the percentages you have here, can you explain what they are, please?
Yeah, so the 146 over 227, the 227 is our total expenditures. And the 146, if you look at our budget, that's what, right? What?
the
But-
current budget.
Yeah, I hope I'm looking at the right numbers. This is what I had in my folder. Is, for payroll.
That's the current budget.
Yes, so for payroll, I have the 146. And then I went down to the bottom, the total expenditures is I tend to round things off, so I put 227.
So there's a difference between expenditures and amount of tax revenue. If we
Right.
go by amount of tax revenue, we're actually at 80%.
Right, but if we go by, I thought about this a lot, if we go by tax revenue, then all the other ones are way over as well. The 23% is gonna be 30 and the
Right.
collection is gonna be, so
For sure.
now all of a sudden we have more than 100%.
Mhm.
So,
Well, that's the problem that we have.
yeah, so the problem is we have to
Mhm.
increase the revenue to meet the total expenditures.
And we
But
can't-
not reshuffle, the way the money is divided and say payroll is too high, because in that
No.
case, everything is too high.
no, that's not the case. If our tax revenue is a certain number, then it's 50 to 60% of that is a healthy, payroll amount. And 65 to 75 is a stretch on that.
The
And so-
other boards that I talked to had 67%.
So 67 is gonna be in that stretch area, but it's not 80% like we have. 80% is outrageous.
But
She has 65% of
Right.
our expenditures
Right.
and we are way over budget. We're like 40 grand over budget. And so 65% of expenditures make sense here, but it does not make sense compared to our tax revenue for our library that wants to be balanced in our budget. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but then that throws everything else off balance too. I mean, the problem is not that the payroll is too high. The problem is that everything is proportionately too high for the revenue that's coming in. So we've got to increase the revenue. I mean, that's what we have to do is increase the revenue, not cut payroll unless we're gonna slash not only payroll, but operations and books. Otherwise, we're kind of out of kilter as far as.
Well, we only have what we have, right? And if we do increase the revenue, we are still not gonna get to a balanced budget. It's going to take several increases. I think it's like 4 increases before we'll actually balance the budget.
Well, I think what we have to do, I know that, that you've brought this up, we have to talk about fundraising. We have to talk about Friends of the Library, and I've talked to people, other people who've said, like, small public libraries really rely a lot on fundraising. And so we have to give that some serious thought, and so.
I completely agree. I think that's a good thing. We cannot budget based on fundraising. We have to budget based on tax revenue.
But unless we come up with certain things, like certain annual things that people,
But
I mean-
they're completely unpredictable. We need to be able to pay the bills. If Janice decides, in a month and, replace Janet with XYZ. If XYZ decides in a month they no longer want to do a fundraiser, then we would just be out of that money. We need to deal with stable numbers. And our tax revenue is a stable number where fundraising is not a stable number.
So what I'm suggesting for this year, because is to take a little from first, I suggest that we ask for that increase in the taxes. We're not gonna vote on it without calling anything. We're just throwing ideas out there. But I do suggest that we ask for that, and it was like $8,840 some dollars. That's a,
84, 89, I think is
Something like
just shy of 8,500.
okay. So if we are shy 25,000 and we get the increase of, can I round it to 8,500? Just to 8,500, and we take that off, we're down in the 18,000 range. And we would take that from CDs for this year. That would balance us, and it would also leave us with the proportional emergency money that, when I say proportional, Robert said, if you have 50,000 in reserves, then that's a good proportion for your size library. So we wouldn't have gone below that. We would be taking it from the CDs, I understand that. We would be asking for an increase, which the voters get to say yay or nay to. And then we would try the fundraising to replace the CDs. And
And
see how successful that is.
And not just one fundraising
No,
thing,
not just one,
where if that person decides not to do
Right.
it that year, we're out of luck.
right,
But there are so many, apparently, I've been asking around, there are just so many different areas that we've never tapped, and one
Right.
could be corporate sponsorship,
Yeah.
corporations could, and once they start doing that, that's probably something that they would do each
Yeah.
year. There are just so many things that we could set up that other libraries have going
Yeah.
every year.
And
I don't see any other way around it, other than,
The glaring problem is for 2 years now, we haven't balanced the budget and we've taken from reserves. And we've said that we're gonna look at fundraising and we haven't done it. That's the
Well,
glaring problem.
I think I need to feel like we're all in the boat together a little bit, but I don't know if this is addressing what you're saying right now or not necessarily, but it wouldn't be my fundraiser. You said like, Janice, I might not be here or whatever. I would like to set up a system of fundraising that then for those people that don't transition into like Marion, who's, staff, long-term working here, it would be a system that would be easily replicated and continued. That's what I would like to do, but we need a little more time to do that. And that's because this budget is down now to like the 2-3 month period of make decisions.
We said we'd have a balanced budget by next year. That was the commitment we made.
Right.
If we follow
So-
your plan, we won't have a balanced budget by next year.
We don't know
We-
that
we
yet
have to cut
either.
some. We
I know
do.
you don't know, when you say you can't predict up, but you
Do you
can't
think
predict
prices
down
go
either.
up or do you think prices go down? I believe that they consistently go up. So we'll be even more in the hole, not less.
Well, if we get the system working so that we do have more revenue, then maybe we can we're always gonna be looking at this. This isn't gonna be a one and done fix any way we go about it. But we wanna balance it. Yes, we wanna keep it balanced, but we're going to have to constantly reevaluate what we need, how we're getting to what we need, what
Here's
is
my
an
problem,
issue.
is that the taxpayers of this community, of several communities in this area, have told us this is the amount of money we've allotted to you, and we consistently are spending more than they've allotted to us. And we are behaving as if that's not gonna bite us at some point. We are 3 years away from that, shutting the doors of the library, if we don't take this seriously.
I am taking it seriously,
I don't-
very
I don't know if the
seriously. I'm
conversation-
going to put a ton of work into.
You are
trying
literally
to
saying the
address
same
it.
things today that you said 2 years ago. Literally, the same exact thing is being said today that was said 2 years ago and last year, that we'll look at fundraising and we don't need to balance, we'll just pull from the reserves. That only lasts for so long. That's math.
We can also look at a compromise where we cut payroll, because that is the biggest part of our budget, where we cut wherever we can. I think we've already cut programming and a lot of the other budget items down to where we can't cut any further. And pull less out of our reserves so that we're working toward, a balanced budget next year. And at the same time, work on fundraising so that the next year, when we're at this point, we have money. Some successes, we have something that's already started and going, and a place that we can build from. My goal would be to do enough fundraising and build enough budget and build enough surplus so that we could add these, whatever we're cutting now, we could add back and continue to grow.
what kinds of things can we cut that we
It
could?
would have to be payroll. That's the thing that has to be cut.
I did also ask several different trustees from Lake George and other areas about that. I checked with Sal's, and I can tell you that the trustees at the other libraries were like, you never cut payroll. Their approach was like, it's really,
Because it doesn't come back.
it's not coming back
Mhm.
if you do. And,
When 80% of your budget, 80% of your tax revenue is payroll, and it should be near 65,
well,
you cut payroll.
with that.
Well,
That's
that's,
really not true.
that's not the case when your tax revenue is the same thing as your bottom line. I mean, I keep on thinking, if we cut payroll, then all of a sudden our operational costs are way out of whack. All the other costs are way, I
I
don't
guess
know.
I'm not understanding.
Okay, so you're saying you have an idea of how much of the tax revenue should be going towards payroll, 50%?
No, 50% is like comfort zone, 50 to 60 is like
What's
in the
the
green.
comfort, what's the comfort
I-
zone for facilities?
I don't know that. I know
My
that payroll
guess
is
is
a glaring
it's-
issue.
My guess is it's even more glaring because
Our building is not very, efficient as well. So ours is gonna be very high on that end, but we're gonna have to compensate that with cuts. We have to make sure that we're balancing things with the amount of tax revenue that we have, regardless of what we have to cut. We have to cut something, we have to cut it. That's our responsibility as trustees.
We have to look at also the bigger picture where, yes, we have costs that have grown because we have grown. We have a bigger staff than we had. We have more programming than we had, so
We're seeing more patrons.
we're seeing more patrons than we did, so than we had in the past. So those things are growing, good things are coming with it. And now we have to figure out how to grow. And that's the part where I say, instead of cutting back, give the taxpayers the chance to say yay or nay to the little increase. That isn't even gonna get us to what we actually need, which is about $25,000, we said, right?
Mhm.
So
And that's just to maintain the status quo.
that's just status quo. And then,
Well, I think we have to like seriously, and maybe before the next meeting, come up with a very, well thought out plan of all the fundraising things we plan to do. We can't just we can't say we want to do fundraising.
right,
And we have to really think about some of the things, like,
Yeah.
one of the things we could do, well, I mentioned is try to get some corporate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, another thing that we could do is possibly, and, we may not even get the approval for the tax increase.
Right,
But
right.
I think we should be prepared to send out letters, and I don't know if we can do this, but go through the tax rolls and find the higher affluent people in the community who might be willing to, who would respond to a plea for, we want to keep the library going, and this is where we are, and this is where we need to be, and can you help us? We have to do some
We have to be,
serious.
I think it's a good idea. We have to be careful of our wording because it is slightly deceptive if we say that the library is gonna shut down if you don't give us money, because we can make cuts and have the library sustain. So we have to be careful about the
Say,
wording.
without doing major cuts, we need X, Y. We can all, craft something that everybody's comfortable with, but
Right,
I think we
right.
have to do some really aggressive,
Yeah.
marketing
Yeah.
of the library.
I will
And
come back with, yes, marketing and the fundraiser idea that I had that I don't remember 2 years ago ever talking about that particular one, but the one I have that's a very specific one that would be could be a yearly annual thing. I'll come back with all the details of it, like the proposal of places, people, how much it would cost, how to advertise it. I can put that all together.
And I know that my community, the Fourth Lake community, it's a summer community, but I can't tell you how much interest there was when people heard that I was on the board
Yeah,
and coming over, and I would like, I would figure out at least a few $1,000s. I know
Yeah.
that they contributed like $200.
Yeah, yeah.
Something really paltry,
Yeah.
but I think that I could get
Yeah.
us,
yeah,
with a fundraiser that I would do to my house or something, several $1,000s there. And I just think that all these things, I know, I understand the idea that you can't count on them, you can't, well, I don't know if you can or not, that's something I want to look into. If we can come up with a really steady supply of money coming
Yeah.
in, which I'm told is not unusual for like libraries and other
right.
like kinds of,
Mhm.
I mean, you could have an unbalanced budget until you run out of money too. But the thing is that what if the fundraising has to stop? I've seen this happen in municipal situations multiple
Then
times
you
where
have to go
the
back. to the
fundraising
drawing
just shuts
board.
down and then you have a budget that is way off because you budgeted for fundraising instead of budgeted for tax revenue. It essentially at its core is irresponsible. You have to be very, very careful of it. If you want to do extra programming based on fundraising, awesome idea, great stuff. But to actually do your entire budget off fundraising, which is a very, very unstable, it's not feasible.
I don't
No,
think
we're talking
anybody's
about
saying
the
entire
entire
budget,
budget.
no.
Yeah.
I think
But
one of
We're
you,
just
you
saying
are
the
talking about the
stopgap.
bottom line number, though. You're talking about changing the bottom line number based on fundraising. That's what I'm talking about.
No, I think what she was saying is, again, borrow from reserves and make that, and hope to make that up with fundraising, but not,
For 1 year, for
one
You're
year.
robbing Peter
And,
to pay Paul.
and
That's all I'm saying.
we haven't asked for an increase in 5 years, so we
That-
are playing a little bit of catch up in terms of, but
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 we don't get to use that as an excuse when we run out of money, though. I understand
use
that, and
anything
that's very logical. That's a valid point. But it's the situation we're in, so we have to move forward from where we are. We don't get to, say, oh, we didn't get a raise in this many years. We didn't. So where are we today? Let's work from where we are today.
okay. So, any further discussion?
I just would also like to remind you that I am constantly looking at grants.
Yes,
I know
you
that
can-
I know that that's somewhat like fundraising, but that is an additional,
Yeah.
source. I have written a volunteer policy. It has been sent to Robert 2 weeks ago. I'm still waiting for him to respond. I've also reached out to, Glens Falls National. I'm waiting for a, callback to see logistically what would be involved with, putting a donation button on our website
Mhm.
so that patrons could, just donate, through the website. Still waiting for a callback on that. So, I mean, I'm doing as much as I can with the time that I have. And I've also looked at, as much as I don't want to cut staff, like I said, if anything, I'd rather have more staff. Cutting the budget, it doesn't do an awful lot to the budget unless we go way down to bare bones. And the more staff you cut, the less the library will do. And then it's just gonna have an adverse effect
on the fundraising and everything.
and on everything. And I mean, I know Josh was here on the board when, and so was Maggie, when I first started. And it was just Claire and I. And when it was just Claire and I, in my opinion, programming was dismal because there's just not enough of me to go around. And programming is not Claire's warehouse. That's just not, she helps the best she can. She's, technical. She's great on the front desk. She's great with helping patrons as they come in. That's all great, but programming is not her thing. And to be a good manager and a good program coordinator all in one is a very tall order, and I found it to be nearly impossible. I didn't feel like I did a great job at either. Since we've had Taylor, I feel like programming is doing fabulously. I feel like I'm doing a better job administratively, and that's all important with keeping the library up and running and being not just viable, but vital and vibrant part of the community. And I think we've definitely come a long way in the last 2 years. We're much more vibrant. We're seeing more patrons. People are happy. I have people come in and randomly just like, the library is so beautiful. You guys have done such a nice job. It's so nice to come in and such friendly faces, And I mean, I know I'm in the library, but I don't hear anything negative.
When we have these kind of conversations, I don't want you to feel like, if someone's saying we have to make cuts, that it's an attack on you or the job you've done. I think that no one could argue that you've moved the library forward. There's visible improvements. If we listed out all the key performance indicators that we would have, you would hit them. You're doing a good job. It is not a matter of how well you're doing at all. It's a matter of math and us trying to make the math work.
I just wanna point out, not, like, the first year, you've successfully added at least 3 grants, right? To the
Yes.
budgeting process, to the payment of things. And that keeps growing, and it's hard to do the grants search if you're gonna follow program, if you're gonna try to do programming, that's the part of the staffing. I mean, when you heard Supervisor Niles just say that they paid someone specifically just to do grants, you know, for the town, because it pays off in the long run to have that revenue. So, I just wanted to bring that to the forefront too, of the time you put in and the success you've had in that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to be careful because if we cut payroll and then and then the programming suffers, then basically the operations and the facilities and admin costs take over almost the entire budget. And what's the point of having a library, you know? So
Right,
we're
right.
keeping the building going, but
Yeah.
like people aren't coming. So, yeah, so I'm sorry that when Kim was here, it didn't occur to me to ask her, what are the other libraries doing?
That-
They were,
working on
He
that
is
for-
working on that, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next item on my report was that Kim Bolin is the new director at SALS, and she did come and sit with, Marion and I had an appointment with her, and Beth
just
ended
showed
up
up.
there, which was fine, because there was just two of us. Maggie came, but just waved from a distance and didn't come back.
Left immediately.
Left immediately, but Kim had, she just took copious notes about things that we were bringing up that we needed help with, guidance with. And one of them was, the templates for budgets and things that other libraries in the system are doing and how they're handling
yeah,
it.
surely we're not the only
Yeah.
ones with this
Yeah.
problem.
And
Yeah.
she's been in communication with me as well, and she's
Mhm.
continuing, I've been getting her information
Yeah.
as she's asking for it.
Yeah.
And she's continuing
Yeah.
to work on it. She worked on it last week while she was out of town helping her parents, so
Yeah.
she's very dedicated
Yeah.
to helping us.
So I think that is our conversation. I think I've covered the president's report. And because Colin's not here for VP of Finance, we're just simply, I need a motion to pay the bills.
Well, actually, before you
Oh.
do that, you guys all have it in front of you, but, it's the third one up from the bottom, the hardware store. He has it listed as 128.68,
Mhm.
but there was a charge from last month that came in like just as we were having the board meeting or whatever, and Colin said to me he was gonna wait for this month. I just got a bill from the hardware store. It's actually 148.35 that we owe them.
A new number, or it's just that 128 changes to 140, whatever?
And yeah, so it's like another $20
Okay.
if we could,
So it's 148.35.
yes, instead of the 128. So, yeah, it's not another 148, it's just increasing that.
Okay.
And he'll be in tomorrow and I
Yeah.
will show it to him and he'll sign it after that.
So motion to pay the bills,
I move, we pay the bills.
second,
A second.
all in favor?
Alright.
Aye. All right, thank you, Colin, for your work. Thank you, Marion, for the update. And, secretary's report? Nope. Manager's report.
Okay. So you have it, a packet there obviously in front of you. The only thing I had on there for discussing was budget, which we've already done. Also, the January statistics. Oh, I'm sorry, this is February. That should say January. My apologies. Today I got thrown off the rails because Claire left early and, instead of being in my office all day, I was on the front desk. But anyways, news and updates. The biggest thing you have, is the last page of your packet, actually a copy of the letter from, Miss Taylor. It's, with a heavy heart. She has to step down. She has illnesses that are progressing much more rapidly than she ever anticipated. And, it is not her heart's desire to leave, but it is in her best interest, health-wise, to leave. So I have actually already just very preliminary put out a search for her replacement, because we definitely need, a program coordinator to, continue with what we're doing. A little bit of good news. I got an email last week from, the CDLC announcing that Congress has passed a series of spending bills that will increase federal funding for libraries for the fiscal 26 year.
Mhm.
And then just to update you, Colin is already aware of this. I got an email from JP Morgan to call them. We had, I think it was 4 or 5 charges that were not mine, and they flagged them. They have refunded us. A new card has been issued, the old card canceled, and I shredded the old card. So,
Can I
that's,
just say thank you to Taylor before we move on to how much I appreciate her presence and her
yeah,
contribution. I'm just, sad.
Yeah, I think
She
she has
is.
done a wonderful job.
Wonderful job.
she has, and and she really wanted me to include her letter, because she really wanted you guys, to see her heart.
Uh-huh.
That, she doesn't want to leave, but, and we want her to live. We want her to be her healthiest
Of
self.
course.
And I've always said to both the girls that, health is paramount. And she will be greatly missed. She's brought a lot of life to this library. She's got big shoes to fill. And,
Yeah.
she's given me a generous notice, so.
Yeah, that's.
She's here till March 21st.
Till March 21st. I'm hoping that I'll have someone hired by then, because she's offered to kind of show them the ropes a little bit if it happens in time. If not, we'll go from there. So,
How many hours does Taylor work?
she works, 26, she works typically. It kind of morphed into her working the 6 hours on Saturdays, so that gives her, 26 hours.
Mhm.
Unless, Claire or I are out or
Right, she
whatever.
fills it.
Is that gonna
Yeah.
affect the 2-person rule for the week?
Which we don't have her, no, because Claire's full-time,
Okay,
so
so there's not gonna be a moment where it's gonna affect it.
it shouldn't, I mean, right now, occasionally, there is time when it's just myself or Claire. Thursdays is a case in point, because Claire picks up from the library on her way in. I'm alone until probably 11 o'clock-ish. I mean, I don't see that as an issue. Somebody being here alone all day, I see as an issue. Like today, Claire was sick and she had to leave. If I wasn't here, the library would have had to close. And, I know Colin brought up the cameras, and yes, they're great, but nobody's monitoring them. So I mean, if somebody falls and cracks their head open, the cameras aren't gonna sound an alarm. Nobody's gonna know unless somebody happens to walk in. And, I also ran the numbers. I looked at the numbers based on what I've already gotten from payroll, and I worked them backwards, and I figured out the percentages. I did all the work. And then I asked payroll, are my numbers correct? I didn't ask them to do the work, just kind of verify it, and they said I was right on. Reducing it and cutting that out is the amount of savings we're talking like maybe $3,000. It's
Cutting out what, the
double coverage. So like if, say, when I'm on vacation, Taylor doesn't have to come in. Or if Claire's out, Taylor doesn't have to come in early, kind of thing. It doesn't save much. Eliminating the 2-person rule saves very, very little, is
But
what I'm
if
saying.
you go on vacation, essentially, right now, the library has to shut down. I mean, it
For
would,
the 2-person rule, yeah.
right, so
Right.
eliminating it would have more savings because of the fact that the library would stay functioning more. I mean, this is a direct threat to your vacation time.
I
If
understand
we had
that.
to shut down, if it was only
Right.
to be open under 2 people.
And, well, what I'm saying is like, the only thing it would save is like if Claire would come in at the opening, and then instead of Taylor also coming in at 10, she would just come in at her regular time at 1 o'clock. So that would save some, but it wouldn't be a huge saving.
You're estimating in, the person in that coordinator position is in that coordinator position.
Right,
That's where there's a disconnect.
yeah. I'm just saying that, to eliminate that 2-person rule, that would mean that, in my absence or in Claire's absence, like today, Taylor didn't come in early. I was just alone for 2 hours. But like I said, being alone all day, I think that's a safety thing, I don't think that any one person should be alone all day. But, a little bit here, a little bit there, I don't think is unreasonable.
Well, and also, we had a good list of volunteers to come in.
Yes,
Right.
right. Well, if I can get Robert to respond to the policy would be helpful,
Mhm,
because the way he explained it to me, he has to first say,
mhm.
and then I bring it to you. Because the last time I brought a policy and it to you guys before I brought it to him, it was.
Yeah,
so-
he reviews first, then we talk about it.
Right.
Then he reviews if we change it, and then. they
It's just
apply it
frustrating
on
that
the
he's
second
not
reading.
very prompt.
Are you all set then?
I'm all set unless anybody has some questions. I just, again, I apologize. Statistics are for January, not February.
Thank you. I had voting on resolutions, but we're still actually waiting on the response from Robert on that also. The resolution being putting in front of the voters, the increase. We have a copy of one, but we didn't vote on it the night it was dated, and so we've asked about.
Yeah, I've asked him if I could,
Changing
if I
that
can
date
edit it or if
and
he has to, and he
Right.
hasn't responded. I
Right,
don't wanna do things
Yeah.
incorrectly.
and we still are within our limit, our time to vote in March on that.
I think we should wait for Colin, obviously, but,
Mhm.
I think you can just change the date. The language is what matters.
I mean, I can,
Yeah.
I
think
have the ability to edit it. I just don't wanna do it if it's the wrong thing to do, but I
Yeah.
have not heard back
Yeah.
from Robert.
Yeah,
And I need to go and.
And I know we need to send the resolution about the open seat.
That's
soon.
not something we vote on though, because that's just a
no,
term limit.
it's a regular,
Okay, we don't have to vote on that,
No.
okay.
So, but I also need to double check at school because Robert was making communications with the business office. And just make sure. Is he waiting for the resolutions to be voted on to make that communication? I need to figure those things out.
I don't know, but maybe you
I
have better
thought
luck
that
getting a hold of him.
Yeah, okay. So we don't really have old business and we don't have new business, unless somebody's bringing something up that I wasn't aware of. And so we are at public comments. Is there anyone who'd like to make a public comment?
Just like raise our hand? or-
You do, you say your name and where you're from and then.
I'm Michael Allen, I live over in Hadley.
Mhm.
I gotta say. The budget seems to be a note of contention. I can feel the tension, but, it's difficult. I've heard it mentioned that, hey, we don't have the money, we haven't received the increases, we gotta work with what we got. Feels like then we should definitely be moving to address, my question would be, have you not received increases because they've been voted no, or because there hasn't been a request?
The latter.
There's not been a request.
All right. That satisfies my curiosity there. And then my only word of caution would be when it comes to cutting things from the budget like payroll and whatnot, if that proves necessary, one should be exceedingly cautious about it. Because the phrase "you get what you pay for" is applicable there as much there as anywhere else. You will find it difficult to keep hold of quality employees if they are not well compensated. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, then I will adjourn the meeting at. What time is it? That's not,
34.
I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will.
I move,
Okay, that moves.
yes.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody have safe travels home, meeting adjourned.